Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning somewhere off the coast of California. A humpback whale is just doing its thing, breaching, breathing, being a whale. Normal Tuesday. Then something hits it from below. Not a great white, not an orca. Something so large that the impact barely even looks like a bite from above. It looks like the ocean itself just tried to swallow the whale whole, and whatever did it is already gone. Back into the dark. Not fleeing, not hiding, just done. Moving on to the next thing. That's what a Megalodon in today's ocean would look like. Not the Hollywood version where it dramatically circles a boat and gets blown up by a torpedo. The real version. A predator so far above everything else in the modern food chain that it wouldn't even notice us. Except here's the part scientists don't talk about enough. It would survive, for a while. And then something much worse than a predator would start to happen to it. Something it never evolved to survive. Something that took out animals even larger than itself. And no, we're not talking about a meteor. If you're the kind of person who lies awake wondering what would actually happen if prehistoric monsters dropped into the modern world, hit like and subscribe right now. We run these scenarios every week, and trust me, they get way darker than you're expecting. You're going to be here for that. All right, let's set the scene. First things first, the Megalodon is not a giant great white shark. That needs to be said immediately because Hollywood has permanently burned that image into everyone's brain, and it's almost completely wrong. The great white shark is sleek, athletic. It's basically the sports car of apex predators, beautiful in a terrifying kind of way. The Megalodon was something else, something bigger, something built less like a sports car and more like a city bus that decided to become a predator. Estimates put it between 15 and 20 meters long. That's 50 to 65 feet. The largest great white sharks ever recorded top out around 6 meters. So we're talking about an animal roughly 3 times the length of the most feared shark alive today. And it was not slender like the great white. It was thick, dense. Built like the ocean had a budget surplus and just kept adding mass until it ran out of room. Its jaws were around 3 meters wide. Its teeth, the ones we actually find, can be the size of a human hand. Not a child's hand, a grown adult human hand. And those teeth came in rows, constantly replacing themselves, so the Megalodon was never working with a dull blade. Ever. Scientists estimate its bite force at somewhere between 40,000 and 180,000 newtons. For comparison, a great white bites at around 18,000 newtons. A saltwater crocodile, which most people would call the strongest bite in the animal kingdom, tops out around 16,000. The Megalodon didn't just outbite everything alive today. It outbites everything that has ever been alive that we know of, by a massive margin. So, you drop this thing in the modern ocean. What actually happens? Day one, it's confused. That's not dramatic speculation, that's just biology. An animal that went extinct roughly 3.6 million years ago would be waking up in an ocean that doesn't look like the one it evolved in. The water temperature is different, the currents are different, the prey distribution is different. But here's what's not different: the Megalodon's hunger. And the ocean is absolutely full of food. The first thing it would find is whales. The modern ocean has humpback whales, blue whales, sperm whales, gray whales, right whales, and none of them have ever been hunted by something like this. Not in thousands of generations. The evolutionary memory of a Megalodon-sized predator is completely gone from their DNA. Here's how devastating that is. Animals that live alongside active predators develop behavioral responses over thousands of years. Seals flinch when they hear a great white's pressure wave. Dolphins bunch together when orcas appear. Even fish school tighter when a shark enters the area. These aren't learned behaviors, they're baked in, written into the animal's instincts at a genetic level, because the ones who didn't have those responses got eaten before they could reproduce. But the Megalodon has been gone for 3.6 million years. Every behavioral adaptation that whale populations might have had against a predator this size has been completely erased. There's nothing left. No instinct, no flinch response, no evasion reflex. A humpback whale encountering a megalodon for the first time would have genuinely no idea what it was looking at. It might not even register it as a threat until it was already too late. A great white shark ambushes seals. It attacks from below, fast, and then retreats to let the prey bleed out before coming back. That strategy works because seals are fast, panicky, and unpredictable. Whales are different. Whales are enormous. Whales fight back. And great whites are not built to take that kind of punishment. The Megalodon was. Its teeth weren't shaped for the slashing, tearing attack of a great white. They were broader, flatter, designed to grip and crush through bone. Scientists believe the Megalodon targeted the hard structural parts of its prey, the skull, the spine, the rib cage, not to bleed them out, to destroy them immediately. A humpback whale weighs around 30 tons. The Megalodon, fully grown, likely weighed between 50 and 100 tons depending on the model. That size difference means the Megalodon wasn't ambushing whales and hoping for the best. It was ending them. And in a modern ocean where no whale has ever encountered a predator like this, there would be no defensive behavior, no evasion strategy, no instinctive response. The humpback wouldn't even know what was happening until it was already over. For the first few weeks, maybe months, the Megalodon would essentially be operating without opposition. Every hunt would be successful. The ocean's largest animals would have no answer for it. But here's where it gets complicated. Because the Megalodon isn't just a predator, it's an ecosystem event, and the modern ocean is not the ocean it evolved in, not even close. When the Megalodon was alive, the ocean was warmer, globally warmer. Its preferred hunting grounds were the warm, shallow coastal waters, where ancient whale species gathered in massive numbers. Those whales were different from modern ones, in some cases smaller, in some cases slower. The ecosystem was basically calibrated for a predator of its size to exist inside it. Today's ocean is colder. The whale populations it would be hunting are concentrated in very specific migration corridors, not spread across warm coastal shallows the way ancient prey was. The Megalodon would need to travel to find food, and traveling costs calories, a lot of calories. This is where the size becomes a problem instead of an advantage. A fully grown Megalodon needs to eat an estimated 2,500 pounds of food per week just to maintain basic function. That's not a typo, 2,500 pounds per week. That's roughly one full humpback whale calf or a massive chunk of an adult every single week, without fail. When food was abundant in warmer ancient oceans, this was sustainable. In the modern ocean, where whale populations are still recovering from decades of human hunting and exist in numbers far below their historical peak, it starts to become a problem. Now, what about the great white? Would the Megalodon even notice it? This is where I want to slow down for a second, because the answer is fascinating and also slightly sad for anyone who thinks great whites are the ultimate ocean predator. A great white shark would register to the Megalodon the same way a house cat registers to a lion, not as a threat, not even really as competition, just as a thing that exists nearby. The great white actually evolved after the Megalodon went extinct. It occupies a different ecological niche. It targets different prey. It operates in different parts of the water column. These two animals were never supposed to share the ocean, and if they did, the great white would almost certainly learn very quickly to just go somewhere else. And there is real scientific evidence that something like this already happened once before. Researchers studying fossil records have found that in coastal regions where Megalodon was active, the ancestors of the great white were essentially absent. The same waters, the same coastlines, one predator in, the other gone. It wasn't competition, it was displacement. The great white didn't fight for territory against the Megalodon. It just quietly left and came back when the giant was dead. That tells you everything about the power dynamic. When a megalodon showed up, the ocean's current apex predator didn't challenge it. It relocated completely and waited. So in the modern scenario, within days of a megalodon appearing in any region, great white activity in that area would essentially drop to zero. The sharks would feel it before they even saw it. That much mass moving through the water produces pressure waves, vibrations, a sensory signature unlike anything alive in the ocean today. The great whites would read it, not understand it, and leave. Fast. What would be left in the water with the megalodon? Mostly things too big to run and too slow to hide. There are modern animals that could at least present a challenge. Sperm whales, which we've covered before on this channel, are not passive prey. They are intelligent, they communicate, they coordinate, and they have been known to actively fight back against threats. A pod of sperm whales defending themselves is a completely different situation from a lone humpback getting ambushed. The megalodon's hunting strategy was probably built around surprise and overwhelming force. A sperm whale pod that knows it's being hunted, that can use echolocation to track something the size of a bus underwater, that can coordinate a defensive formation with tails capable of shattering bone. That's a problem, even for a megalodon. We don't know for certain how that interaction plays out. What we do know is that sperm whales today show almost no fear of other ocean predators because nothing in the modern ocean can actually threaten a healthy adult. If a megalodon appeared, sperm whales would be the one species with a realistic shot at making the encounter costly. But even that wouldn't save the megalodon. Because the real threat isn't what's in the water with it. It's what's not. Here's the thing about apex predators at the megalodon scale. They require an almost unimaginably large prey base to survive. The ancient oceans had that. Warm, shallow seas covering huge portions of the continental shelves. Dense populations of large marine mammals spread across vast areas. Effectively, an all-you-can-eat buffet sized for a bus that needs to eat constantly. The modern ocean is not that. Not anymore. Between centuries of industrial whaling that decimated whale populations, climate change shifting the temperature and distribution of prey, and the geographic reality of today's colder oceans, the caloric infrastructure the megalodon needs simply doesn't exist in the same form. Think of it this way. You could drop the most efficient engine ever built into a car. The most powerful, the most perfectly designed. But if there's no fuel, the engine doesn't matter. The megalodon is the engine. The ancient ocean was the fuel, and the modern ocean is running on fumes. In the early weeks, it would dominate. Hunting would be easy. The prey is there, even if it's not as abundant as it once was. But every successful hunt would cost it time and energy tracking down the next one. And over months, the caloric math starts to turn negative. An apex predator at this scale cannot exist if it's burning more energy hunting than it's gaining from each kill. The distances between viable prey would grow. The hunts would get longer. The successful kills would get harder. The megalodon would begin to lose weight. And a predator built at that scale does not lose weight gracefully. It goes after smaller prey, less efficient prey. Things that don't come close to covering the caloric cost. And eventually, the most terrifying predator the ocean ever produced would simply starve. Not dramatically, not in battle, just slowly, quietly, running out of road in an ocean that no longer has the infrastructure to hold something like it. Scientists actually believe this is close to what happened the first time. The megalodon didn't disappear because something hunted it. It disappeared because its prey base collapsed. Baleen whales, which make up the bulk of large whale species today, evolved to live in colder, deeper water. They moved out of the warm, shallow coastal zones where the megalodon hunted. The food moved, and the megalodon couldn't follow it into the cold deep the way modern predators can. It is genuinely one of the most tragic stories in the history of life on Earth. The most powerful predator that ever lived, teeth like dinner plates, jaws wide enough to swallow a car. bite force that doesn't even exist in the modern animal kingdom. And it went extinct because lunch moved, not because something beat it, not because the ocean turned on it, because the food supply quietly relocated to water that was too cold and too deep for a warm water ambush predator built for shallow coastal seas. The Megalodon was a perfect machine, dropped into the wrong conditions. That's the brutal logic of ecosystems. It's not always the strongest that survives. It's the one that fits. The one built for the specific conditions of the specific moment. And when the moment changes, even the most dominant animal in history can run out of options. So here's where we land. Drop a megalodon in today's ocean. It dominates immediately. Months of unchallenged hunting. Whales that don't know what hit them. Great whites clearing the area completely. Headlines that would break the internet within hours. A global panic unlike anything in recorded history. And then, quietly, without any dramatic final battle, it starts running out of food. It starts ranging further, burning more than it takes in. And within a few years, maybe a decade at the outside, it's gone again. Not because the ocean fought back, not because we managed to stop it, but because being the apex predator doesn't mean you survive. It just means you run out of food last. And isn't that the most terrifying version of the story? Not the one where it hunts us, but the one where it barely notices us at all, and still doesn't make it. Alright, here's your job for the comment section. I want to know where you would least want to be when the Megalodon shows up. Open ocean, shallow coast, crowded beach. A specific beach you want to name for personal reasons? Drop it below. And if you actually made it to the end of this video without quietly moving away from the ocean forever, hit like and subscribe. We do this every week. Big animals, deep water, scenarios your brain is definitely not ready for. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.